Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs and welcome. Today I'll be sharing my continued work on the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, Volume 8, the Gathered Things Quilt project that we've all been working on, and we're on prompt number 14, which is vintage textile. And I don't generally buy any vintage textiles at all as a quilter because if you're going to do all that work on something, I want a fabric that isn't compromised and that I know is going to last. But I do have one vintage fabric, and this is it. This is the only vintage textile I have, other than some that is in a few little pieces of old quilt that have been cut up and that I've purchased. But so this fabric is by, let's see, it's by American Folk and Fabric Antique Collection, and the pattern is French Fox. And I just love this. I love this fabric. I think it's beautiful. I really can't wait to make a quilt out of it, choosing different little scenes in here for the blocks. So this is the little section that I decided to use out of this, is this little scene right here. And I love that. I thought that was so pretty. So I'll grab my block and show you what I've done with that. Let's see. Here it is. So this is my block, and let's put this under it so it doesn't flop all over. Oh, got a little piece of lace there. So this is the block that I made, and what I did was I took a portion of that scene and used it on, about probably, 3/4 maybe of this block, this little block here. And I decided rather than use all of this fabric on this block, I would add something else just for interest. So I took a piece of this fabric, and I love this. This is actually probably, I'm guessing, 10 years old. I've had this in my stash for quite a while. Not sure who this is by. I don't think it says on here. No. But I love it. It's a very soft pink, almost a blush pink with little rosettes on it. So I decided to combine that with this block. And the other thing I did was I took a piece out of the vintage textile, just a little grouping of flowers like this, and cut them out, and just thought I would applique that on just to give a little some interest on this side. And the other thing that I added to this block was some lace, and that comes from this lace right here, which I absolutely love. This doily, I can't believe that I cut it. Here's another little piece of it that I will use somewhere. But such a pretty doily. But I did decide I sacrificed it for this block. But I am happy that it's in this quilt, I think, on another block as well. So I just used a piece of that over here. And when the seam allowance is taken on this block, a good portion of the lace will be showing. Same thing over here, this flower. When the seam allowance is taken, part of that flower will show. So after stitching this down, and then I put a running stitch here, or an outline stitch with rose-colored, excuse me, DMC. I think this is number 8. I used this there as a running stitch down here, or not a running, an outline, just to kind of delineate that. And again, I guess we're trying to add little little pieces of interest to catch your eye when you look at the block. I also did some little X's or crosses in the centers of this lace with that same color. And I added a button here, a button that I've had that kind of went with these pinks. There's different shades of pink here throughout this little piece of fabric. So I did some thread painting on here. On this piece of applique, I did like some lazy daisy stitches and straight stitches, some French knots up here, and then some stitching on the little buds over here as well. And this flower, thread painted that in the same way, lazy daisy, straight stitches, French knot here. And then I thought on the curtains, I think I tackled those next. And I thought I would just do some straight stitches to show some shading. I can't say that. And I used this, and this is a Finca number 12. And so that's the little light stitches that are on here. And the same thing over here on the roof. I just did some kind of long stitches, kind of wonky-ish in a sense, just to kind of give the roof a little texture, and the chimney over here. I think that was all, and that same light pink is in the flowers. And then this kind of a medium pink is also, this is another Finca number 12. I love this very fine pearl cotton. That color is also in the curtains, and I just did a little running stitch there on the curtains, and some stitching along the roof up here, and some stitching along here to kind of define this little, not sure if it's a building or a tent. I don't know if this is a little circus kind of a scene. It looks like this little monkey is trying to sell her something. This little lady chicken, maybe something. I'm not sure. But I used that deeper color pink also up here. Again, in the flowers. And then I used this red DMC number 12 to add a little bit to her comb. And I'm not sure if that's called a wattle on a chicken. I think it is on a turkey. I'm not sure about a chicken. But I did a little red there and red on her comb. And then I did some thread painting on her top of her outfit. I guess this would be a long top and a skirt. And I used a DMC number 12, and this is kind of a caramel color. And I thought that just went so nicely with that, and I didn't want to do a solid and cover up all of the little detail, the lines defining her little top. So I just did some lazy daisy stitches on the sleeve and mostly straight stitches elsewhere. I was going to do something on the basket, but I didn't. I left that. And then lastly, I did some gray with a DMC stranded floss, 2 strands, just a running stitch here. Again, just to define the building a little bit, give some interest. I did some of that stitching on her hat with the 2 strands of DMC, and on his pants as well. And down here near the cuffs, just a little, kind of like a little edge, little cuff on his short pants here. And then lastly, I used an ivory DMC. It's just like the rest of these others. Number 12. No, actually, I think that's white. And just straight stitches. His little collar looks like this. but I just did some straight stitches on there in the white DMC just to kind of accentuate it. A few little running stitches here and some straight stitches up here, just to, again, add some interest to the block, kind of draw your eye into it. I love this little scene. I think it's just so pretty. And then adding the stitching, I think, just kind of brings it to life. But so what is very interesting, I think, about this fabric is that, now this is the scene, let's see, this is that scene right here on this fabric. And I used, let's see, where is it? I used this same fabric, choosing another portion of the fabric, another scene on this fabric, and I used that on, let's see, where is that block? Let me just move that. I think this one is on the bottom too, yeah. So this is that, also that same fabric, and look at how different these blocks look. Let me put them on this so they don't go flopping all over. But look at how different they are, and yet they're from the same piece of fabric. This one definitely has all kinds of pink overtones, and this one kind of blues and reds and grays. I thought that was just so interesting. You get a lot of mileage out of this fabric. And I think this block, I think we had to choose something that was, I don't know if it was something that we remembered someone special in our life, our mother, our grandmother, something like that. And this made me think of my grandmother, because she had big vegetable gardens, and of course there's vegetables here, and she planted the sunflowers, so I put this, appliqued this sunflower on and thread painted it and put this yo-yo. But it is that piece of fabric, and I love how out of the same piece of fabric I got two blocks that look so absolutely different, and yet that they came from the same piece of fabric. So I think that's really interesting. So this is my block, and I love it. I love this one. Of course, I say that every week. I think I've enjoyed working on every one of them. So I'll just bring that up for a little close-up, and I'll just say thank you very much for joining me today, and I'm wishing you many blessings. See you in the next video.